he's dating. Let's say she, and I use this particular example at the party, and this is where I got a lot of heat, but I really didn't. It didn't bother me because I knew what I was talking about. I was just giving arbitrary examples, right? So I used the term waitress, right? And so I said, if a man had a choice and everything was right, and he had this accountant woman who was very smart and very versed and very bright, and she can go with him toe for toe on subjects, but let's just say there was a waitress who was a little more, submissive. She was just as good looking. She was just as ambitious. Maybe she was just being a waitress then because she intended to finish some type of a school or take up some type of a trade. That is what a man will gravitate to more, because now if he's able, he can actually help her. He can back her. He can help her go through school. He can help finance that. He can help come up with the decisions that he and she may make going forward for about her future. But if there is a woman who has already got it going on, right, compared to someone who is just trying to make it a little bit, and she's looking up to that man, he is going to choose that waitress 8 or 9 times out of 10 before he chooses that accountant that is on his same level intellectually. So at this party, ladies and gentlemen, I was talking a one-on-one with this very, very bright, brilliant young lady in her mid-30s. And, she has a wonderful job. She graduated from a prestigious university. And her and I was talking about, her past relationships and what type of men that she came across. And I think, to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I think she was being a little diplomatic, because I think that a lot of times it sounded like I was coming heavy-handed. But women seem to be confused a lot by why men do this, why men don't do that. But then when they hear another side and they hear the harsh side of what I just said, then they think, oh, I'm a chauvinist or something like that. But no, but then you still don't have the answers, but you don't want to hear what I just had to say, what may be, a lot of truth to it, because trust me, I'm a man and I know. So I was talking to this young lady, and I told her after, we became a little acquainted and talking that day, and I said, you know what, I'm going to say this, and this is just based on what you've told me and what I know and what I believe. I told her that she is going to have a very, very, very hard time, not impossible, but she is going to have a very hard time getting a husband. Okay, she is. She is too doggone smart. She is too doggone bright. And if she comes across a man that is on her level, it's most likely they're just going to clash. She's going to clash. Now, what do you do in that situation if you were her? And I explained this to her too. I kind of threw in my 2 cents and say, look, I said, there may be a time, because she's, like I said, she's mid-30s, right? So, she's coming close to the decision point, the fork in the road. Do I get married and have kids? Or do I not get married and have kids? So you're coming to that point. So you're going to have to think that once you start to find out that it's going to be tough for you to find someone on your level that you want. And remember, that person has to want you too. You may find him, in her case. She may find him, but he has to be available and want her. What if she finds that person, but he doesn't want her? Scratch that, right? She's got to go somewhere else. It's going to be very tough for her, like I said. So she might have to start, as they say, lower her standards. Lower her standards, right? Intellectually, what they know, maybe even physical looks, or what she's used to dating, or what her desires are. There's all type of things that goes on, because remember, a lot of times, ladies and gentlemen, the woman is not choosing the man. At least initially they're not, right? So therefore, she has to wait for that opportunity. She may run across that guy every day, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, 12 times a week. But as a woman, it is not in their DNA and personality to pop that question, ask for that number, ask for, what you doing, play it off, right? It's not in their makeup. So there's a lot of opportunities that can pass them by just on the cold turkey spiel. So with her, like I said, it's going to be very, very tough. And like I said, I asked her, was she in the past more successful with men who were on her level or men who were not on her level? And she says it was a wash. She said, because I am this age now and I don't have anyone. So, it's worked for a little while with one type of person, and it's worked for a little while with another type of person. So I don't know. So like I said, as a woman, she has a whole different side of the ball that she plays on of side of a man. A man is playing offense and the women are playing defense, if you get my analogy. The women are reacting. The women are the protagonists. The men are the antagonists. Let me take it to the movie thing. The men are kind of like, not the bad guy, I don't want to say it like that, but the men are the antagonists who drive the action forward. The protagonists are the people who react. Usually in the movies, it's the good guys. They react because the guy goes, sets the bomb, whatever. The good guy deflates the bomb, calls the police, tries to, that kind of thing. The women are playing defense as the protagonists. The men are playing offense as the antagonists. So there's two different ways to look at this. But I told her, ladies and gentlemen, that she is going to have a very, very tough time. Not impossible, once again, but tough enough. And so someone else jumped in, another woman jumped in, and she had a bad, she had a bad taste in her mouth when I used that analogy, waitress. But once again, it was just a figure of speech, But I hope you know what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, because, that, like I said, that strong woman that people, or strong black woman, as people in the black community like to say, they think that's a feather in their cap when it comes to wanting to find that man. And then it comes up to where so many women, if they do that, or if they portray themselves to be that, and then they come across men who are not up to their standards, right? And then they end up taking care of that man because they have more education than he does. They have more knowledge than he does. They have more, knowledge when it comes to taking care of business. They're more responsible, and so they end up taking care. How many stories you've heard of that? Oh, I've been taking care of him. He doesn't do nothing. He's lazy. He doesn't do that. So a man who doesn't have anything will fall into that. They'll be the submissive one if you want to, as long as they're paying the bills and buying him stuff and, feeding him and housing him. It's fine with that, but I'm not talking about that type of man. Okay, I'm talking about a man who has a choice. And more times than not, he is not going to choose that woman that can go back and forth with him. He wants that woman to be a step or two behind him so he can call himself teaching her, so he can call himself helping her, protecting her. He doesn't want a woman to protect him. He wants to be able to protect a woman. Once again, that is the ego of a man. So, ladies and gentlemen, what am I saying here? I am not saying that women should not pursue their dreams and become educated. I love education. I'm a college graduate. I've been in the military. I took schools, classes. I've done all that. I applaud anyone, any woman, any person on earth who can go get that education and better themselves and make themselves more intelligent by learning. And these days it's so much easier with social media and the internet than it was when you have to pick up an encyclopedia and teach yourself or to go to school. So I am not saying that, but I am saying this because somewhere along the line, when the traditional family broke up, right? You have a lot of single mothers because a lot of men can't stay out of jail. They can't stay out of trouble. They don't want, they're living this thug life in the inner cities and doing all this crazy stuff. So it's leaving, as they say, a shortage of men and certainly a shortage of eligible good men. So what's a woman to do? So she goes out and she educates herself like she's supposed to do. And like I said, now you have a lot of single women running around. You have a lot of men who, like I said, who are not there. So now it's an influx, it's an imbalance of the traditional family. Because when I was coming along, most women, if they did work, they basically had just modest jobs. I know my mother was an Avon lady, so she supplemented, our income or the income of the house being an Avon lady where my father worked. So, and a lot of, now that I think about it, a lot, and I've said this many times before, in my neighborhood, in my era, not just in my neighborhood growing up in San Francisco, but in my era, all around, people that went to school with me in high school, junior high, everyone had a mother and a father in the house. And most times the mother, she was basically, like I said, if she did work, it was a modest job. And of course, some women, worked in grocery stores. I know a friend of mine whose mother just passed away about 3 weeks ago. She worked in a grocery store. And, that was pretty much the ceiling for a lot of women in my era during those days. And what did that mean? They were able to keep the house together. And, there was a hierarchy. There was a hierarchy in the house. There was the father, the mother, the women, the children, whatever. And so I think it's imbalanced now because women have to get out there and work. They have to get out there and support their family because in a lot of cases, they are single mothers. So once again, not like the 60s and the 50s and the 70s, but this is a new age. And so it is very, very hard because Black women are the most unwed entity in the United States, meaning out of white men, white women, Black women, Asian men and women, Hispanic men and women, the Black woman is the least wed of all. And that, like I said, that can mean not her fault. A lot of men are not doing right. So, there's nothing out there a lot of times. And so, like I say, the influx of the family is off balance. 70% now of marriages, people that do get married are ending in divorce. But sometimes people are not even getting married at all because once, sometimes it's difficult when, let's say, a woman has a baby and there's two different fathers already in her second child or in their third child, then that makes it hard for a man, at least a good, decent man, who wants to take on that responsibility of, birthing or not birthing, but basically taking care of someone else's kid in the household if they married that woman. And that's a factor to do, to look at too, because you have to remember this too, ladies and gentlemen, let me start from the perspective of a woman. When a woman meets a man, let's say they meet at a grocery store, and they're at the grocery store, and they talk, whatever, and they exchange numbers, and the first conversation they have is that, are you single? And the guy goes, yes, I am. Only thing that means, if it's true, the only thing that means is that he's not married. Because it ain't no such thing as a single guy. And it ain't no such thing as a single woman because you have options. There's every woman out there who's not married and they're single, they have options. They have men numbers in their phone number, in their Rolodex or in their phone, and so do men. So men have options as well as women. You may not be in a serious relationship, but that doesn't mean you don't have options. So therefore, if you're coming into something new, you're going to have to be the winner. Because obviously at the particular time, the other ones out there are maybe not cutting the mustard, or maybe there's some things that they're working on or whatever like that. But in the long run, it's whoever wins out, then the other ones will start going away. So you're never going to come across a man or a woman who's just single and free unless they just got out of a relationship, a couple of days ago. And then in many cases, then, they don't want to get back into one because it just got out of one. They may want to do something else because it's called the rebound. But, so there's so many different circumstances, but a lot of people out there are unwed. And I think that the situation of the families, be it white, Black, Hispanic, has flipped. Now, I want to